Right. Ape Man, Adam, and the Gospel. Any relation between all of this? Are we really came from apes or the common ancestor, and branch became apes and gorillas, and branch became humans? That is what the world is asking us to believe. I'd like to start with a video from David Attenborough, whose programs are really very good, well produced, but it doesn't mean it's true, because there are lots of things, as you will see in this little clip. So I'll let you see this clip. It's a short one.
I'm going to take you on a journey to discover who you really are and where you came from. But you're not just going to sit there listening to me. You're going to be part of the experience, and you'll be able to examine some of the evidence of evolution along the way. Look at your screens now. You can rotate the modern human skull, and you'll see the domed forehead, the small face, the small front teeth, and on the lower jaw, the chin. If you keep looking for more screening, you will see Australopithecus afarensis, an extinct hominid who lived about 3 million years ago.
These gangs now depth of illusion below 1,000 meters where there's no light, so they're living in total darkness. It was our fishy ancestors that first developed some of our most fundamental features: our skeleton, jaws, and 4 limbs.
Hold up your screen and look through it one last time. You'll see the tree that represents all of life, past and present. We started this film with a question: who do you think you are? And we can end it with an answer. You are, undoubtedly, like every other living thing on earth, a member of one single family of life, descended from a common ancestor living thousands of millions of years ago.
What do you think? You know who you are now, huh? This is what the world is offering us all the time. All what he did, he gave iPad to people and just asked them to rotate them, and you discover who you are. He showed few skulls, some for apes, and he then, progression from that, he said, that's your skull. There is no evidence. None at all. It really irritates me in a sense to sit and listen to a program like this, because there is no science in it at all. There is no evidence of it at all. As a result of this, in the early 1940s, we start to have something called human zoo, because we are all one family. So, yeah, we have to laugh really. Exactly. We're all one family, so these people will come and stay in the zoo, but just they wear some covers, despite the fact that the monkeys don't wear any covers. Why they are bothered really? Anyway, so they come in the morning, they stay with the animals in a different zoo, in a consequence of events, يعني نشوف أقفاص cages for apes, then the human group, and they finish their shift and go home and come the next day. And this is what Polly Wills is the representative or the presenting person from the London Zoo, and she said, seeing people in a different environment among other animals teaches members of the public that the human is just another primate. So they kept doing that. And actually before this, they started to get some people from Africa, unfortunately, and people can have human zoos in their home. And that was catastrophic. Very wrong, very wrong. Ape Man, does it matter? Right. I told you this is a very famous drawing, and would we have evidence of any of these progression? The monkeys and the apes walk on 4, and to come stand upright is a big different mechanism altogether. There are changes that should happen in the hip bone, changes that should happen in the knee, and changes that should happen in the ankle. The arches of the foot are very important. The hands of the ape are designed to hang on branches of a tree. So they are completely different from walking. And the length of the upper arm and the lower limb is nearly equal in the apes. And it is 3/4 of our length is in the upper limb compared to the lower limb. And to stand and be able to walk, you need the balance, you need the inner ear, and this is a very complicated mechanism, I can assure you of that. And you need the cerebellum as well to balance your balance so you can walk. The monkeys can walk for a short distance, but they can't walk for a long distance. And if I have a monkey standing beside me, he will keep doing this. He can't stand stable, and we say, "Bitnanta zay ert." This is a very common word we think of in Arabic world. He's jumping like a monkey, yeah? Because a monkey cannot stand stable. So they believe who you are, according to David Attenborough, you just came from these far cousins, that you are one of this big family. It's completely wrong. Right, I'll show you another very diagrammatic thing from Houston, and no, it's mainly music actually. Welcome to Houston Museum, National Museum. Can you see? Just few bones, and then faces, and then we complicated these faces from monkeys into man, into you and me, and we are all one family. That's what you learn in the school, what you learn in the university, what you learn when you visit a museum. Right. How man began, this is the Times magazine, as you can see, and in the 14th of March 1994, it gives us this picture of a mixture with a small skull. The skull of the ape is about 400 cc. Our skull is about 1500 cc. So it's a smaller. And they have these ridges here. And they don't have this bone in the middle. So apes cannot wear glasses. Remember that, okay? Because they don't have this part of the nose here. So they give us a picture like this, and an eye like an eye of a man. And this is a picture. How they draw their hair. There is no fossils for hair. How they draw their skin and the lips. How they draw all this, and they say this is the man. Then, in July 2001, said no, this is really our forefathers are like this. It's a big difference, huh? But this is what Times is teaching us. And then the National Geographic gives us this picture and saying this is your relative really. Again, smaller skull. The eyes, the nose is intermediate. How they manage to get all these teeth in? There is not an evidence at all of all of this. And then the Scientific America shows us this is really our human evolution. This is the picture. This is our forefathers. Again, smaller head, the ridges, the nose. Now you see they lost this inner the bone in the middle. And this is natural history gives us this picture. Which one would we believe, really? New faces of the human past. And this is the evolutionary tree, as I said. We believe as Christians of something different. What we call it creation first. This word is not in the Bible, but it's just to compare a tree to a forest. So we believe in creation. God created according to its kind, according to its kind, according to its kind. With genetic pool to differentiate into different things over a period of time. Okay? So the transverse change in creation, yes, there are changes, but within a kind. So the dogs will become dogs, yes. They will never become cats. The bacteria will be resistant bacteria, but still it's bacteria. And still the same type. E. coli stays E. coli. It doesn't change to anything else. Yeah? But it can be resistant and changes happening in the middle. We can study all of that, that's not a problem. But they are still bacteria. So, we believe in the Bible that creation, according to its kind, for the human and for the plant. The Bible, when it repeats a word, is not just a repetition. It is at truth. That's the word of truth. And then there was a big event called the flood, which destroyed the old nations and the universe, and it has an effect on the geology and the layers of the earth. And that's a big topic in itself. The size of the ark, the flood itself and the mechanism of the flood, the breaking. In the initial creation, there was only one continent. And then, even the evolutionists believe that, by the way. But then when the fountains of the deep were broken, the crust of the earth was broken, and that's the formation of the different continents. And this is called continental split, and there is something called continental shift. But this is the geology, which is very interesting in itself, but we will not get into that in detail just now. So after the flood, according to its kind, and branching till we reach the stage we are in at. Right. Evolutionary tree. They start here. You don't need to know all of these names, but I'll mention them very quickly. This is the common ancestor, and then a branch of this, the orangutan, and then another branch will give the chimpanzees and the gorilla, and then another branch will give the Australopithecus. Don't worry about the big names. Australopithecus meaning the southern apes. Yeah, Australopithecus. Oh yes, plenty. Lucy, I'll come to that in detail. So, yes, Australopithecus afarensis, and then we come to something called Neanderthals, and then Homo sapiens and Homo erectus. This is how they describe the tree. You don't need the details in here, I'm just putting that to give you a flavor. What we believe in creation, that orangutan is a special creation. We believe that the chimpanzees and gorilla are from one family. We believe that Australopithecus, with all the different types of Australopithecus, are all the same group, and they are all apes. We believe that Neanderthals and Homo erectus and Homo sapiens are all humans. Okay? But as I said, don't worry about the details of this. This needs some time to go through it in detail. But just to give you the difference between a common ancestor and the special creation. Right, which classes are we going to use and see? Australopithecus, that's a big name, yeah? Australopithecus afarensis. This is skeleton which was discovered in Ethiopia, Kenya area, and it's called Lucy. And the reason they called it Lucy, because there was a tape from the Beatles or something, no, not Beatles, before that, a tape talking about Lucy in the sky or something, so they called it Lucy. It's easier than Australopithecus afarensis actually. So we call her Lucy. Right, this is the area where they discovered. Right, let us see if Lucy really is an intermediate between human and apes. 1974. This is the skeleton that was discovered. So they discovered about 40% of the skeleton, not the whole skeleton. So they never found a foot, so they don't know if it stands erect. The foot is very complicated structure, by the way. They found part of the pelvis, they found part of the upper limb, and they found part of the skull. And they tried to imagine what is the rest. So, in the diagram or in the picture they put in the museums, look at the hands. It is like a human hands and feet. And they haven't found the feet at all. But this is their imagination, to give you a hand and the feet standing upright. And look at the face. Now it's a small skull, so it gives more impression of an ape. There is no bone here in the middle, as I said. And they give you this hair. How can they know that the hair looks like that? There is no fossils for that. That's their imagination. It is a knuckle walker, and it is part of the gorilla. That is what Lucy is. It's a gorilla. And it's a knuckle walker because they have a locking mechanism here at the wrist, and they knuckle walking. Yeah? So it never stands straight like this. That's how we describe it in the Creation Museum. In London National Museum, you will find a picture like this. In St. Louis, you find her looking up, really thinking. And again, the skin and all this hair, what is the evidence? Do you have fossils for that? No. You find her putting her legs one after the other. Do you have evidence of that? No. Did they find the foot? No. How did he manage to know all of that? Continue, he will show you something interesting. And these are the different phases of it, and then we bring the man with the hair and shaving like this one that you can see here, and there is no evidence of that at all. At all. Now, this is Chicago, that is Lucy. Which one is true? Which one is Lucy? We have only none, exactly. We have only 40% of the skeleton, and essential parts are missing. And this is the BBC, how they produced Lucy. Which one would you believe? Okay. Now, let us talk about the scientists. Richard Leakey is one of the great scientists in Kenya, and let us see what he says about Lucy. In 1981, it was discovered in 76, so in 1981, we can now say that the Australopithecus definitely walked upright. Look at the word definitely. Yeah? Somebody is sure that Australopithecus Lucy stood upright. What's your evidence? None. We don't have the foot. We don't have the hip bone. I'll show you what happened in the hip. But the knee. They discovered a knee miles away, and they said it could be for Lucy. That's imagination. You are perfect. So, let us follow this lead. You said definitely standing upright. In 82, we do not know, and nobody has yet found an associated skeleton with a skull to prove that she stood upright. He said all of this in the very comfortable Royal Institute after he made a BBC television program, and he said probably wrong in all number of crucial areas. So he made a big television program on the BBC that Lucy stood upright, and Lucy is our ancestor, it is the intermediate, and then discover, wow, it was wrong. But we heard the big television program from BBC. Who can really stand against BBC or CNN? No, please think, and come to conclusion. They said it's considerably younger by 15 to 20 million years. So we are just talking about 5 million years difference. That's not a problem. Yeah? This is really not science. And all that was misleading. And then he says, there are no longer we know the structure at all now. And there are lots of information coming through and will change the whole tree. So what we thought is true in the past is not true anymore. And I'll continue to show you something very interesting. You can get that from YouTube. So I think made that. What they found, as I said, in order to stand, there are big changes in the pelvis. The direction of the pelvis has to be vertical. It's a socket and ball joint, which is the hip joint, and the sacrum has to be in a special position. And it's a very complicated thing, really, to have a human pelvis. So this Dr. Owen Lovejoy found that the skeleton of Lucy is incomplete. So he started to imagine how it looked like, right? That's historical science. So in order not to change the original fossil, he made a copy. And let us see what happened in this copy. This is the voice on, please. And I'll let you watch this. It's 2 minutes.
This has caused the two bones, in fact, to fit together so well that they're in an anatomically impossible position.
The perfect fit was an illusion that made Lucy's hip bone seem to flare out like a chimp's. But all was not lost. Lovejoy decided he could restore the pelvis to its natural shape. He didn't want to tamper with the original, so he made a copy in plaster. He cut the damaged pieces out and put them back together the way they were before Lucy died. It was a tricky job, but after taking the kink out of the pelvis, it all fit together perfectly, like a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. As a result, the angle of the hip looks nothing like a chimp's, but a lot like ours.
Have you seen what happened? And we get that from YouTube, as I said. happened is, Ron Lovejoy found that the pelvis of Lucy that was discovered is a chin. No way it can stand straight at all or walk. So he said, okay, let us imagine the other part that is missing, as if he will know what happened in the past. He never observed that, he can't do that in the lab, but he said, I will imagine, right? So he made a copy of the original bones, and he went into his laboratory, and as you see, he just trimmed it to make it fit. And that's called science. We have to think biblically, and then we will know the truth. Right. Neanderthals. Neanderthals are a group of people who were short and strong. The bones were very strong. And they discovered mainly in Germany, but then they were discovered very similar in South America again. And this is the picture of Neanderthal. They think that's an intermediate between human and apes. And in 1856, they described the Neanderthal like this stocky and very strong muscles and short head and a short neck and small head. Then in 1983, they give him the cap, and this is a Neanderthal. And then in the Times, this is a picture of Neanderthal. And then they made some hair and some small face and strong muscles, and this is our ancestor. And then moved in 1953 to this picture, and then 84 to this picture, and then 88 to this picture, and the CNN described Neanderthal like this, and the Newsweek described him like this. What's the evidence of the hair and all of that? Yeah? And then the Science Daily describes the Neanderthal like this. And there is a museum in Germany about Neanderthal, and he gives you the different pictures of Neanderthal. And this is the museums of Neanderthal. And they got his daughter, and they told us how she looks like. And they said they lived in cave, but nothing wrong with living in caves, by the way, because the Assyrians lived in caves during for the Dead Sea Scrolls that were discovered. They were start escaping, and some people actually in France lives in caves, and Osama bin Laden used to live in cave. And the Bible speaks about people going into caves, and Sarah and Jacob and Lazarus were buried in caves, and Lot and Elijah and David lived in caves at some stage. So there is no problem in living in caves. It doesn't mean we are apes. Now, let us see the evidence about Neanderthals. We believe Neanderthals were completely humans. So, and actually, with the BBC recently, there was a news piece saying Neanderthals were human. Let us see if there is evidence. They made sophisticated spears and needles and stone tools. The monkeys cannot make tools. They can play with some plants and things, and they can build things, but they cannot make tools, as sophisticated tools and needles. They use makeup and jewelry. You never saw a monkey having his jewelry or makeup, yeah? They hunted dolphins. They had controlled use of fire and cooked food. All of that geological evidence of that. Built hunts from animal skin. Made flutes and music. Cared for their sick and ceremonially buried them. You don't have a burial ceremony for a monkey who died. Yes, but the Neanderthals did that. Made and sailed in the ship and boats. They have the hyoid bone here, which is an important thing for speaking, and they have the gene FOXP2, which is essential for being able to speak. So Neanderthals were completely humans, but they lived under very severe conditions, and their bones were strong and their muscles were strong. They are not intermediates, they are 100% humans. And now they are coming to terms with this, actually, even the evolutionists. More problematic links. There was something called Piltdown Man, that's in 1912. And what was the evidence for this picture that you see? A piece of the jaw, 2 molar teeth, piece of the skull. That's all the elements that they got. And they built this skull and the hair and all of that. can any clever man or woman from all these evidences develop this picture? And they gave it a timeline of 500,000 to 1 million years old. How did they know that? As Nashwa was saying, the isotope were not really discovered well at this time, or used. It's discovered in 1903, but it was not really used as a measurement of the length of time. How did they know that these pieces of bone really dating to 500,000 to 1 million years? And look at the difference. We are talking about 500,000. It's not a small number. And they said, no possible doubt that this is the link between our ancestors, the apes. And they gave us this picture. In 1953, they discovered it was a hoax. It was a completely brought elements or pieces which are not really at all fossils, and they were stained, and that was involving some British scientists and some French scientists. And when they discovered the proper thing, they discovered it was a completely hoax, and nobody speaks about it.
سوري اصل فعلا افتكرته مش فبتطلع تدور عليه في الشارع.
Oh, right. Yeah.
عايزه اروح اشوفها.
That's okay. Yeah, he's here. He's here. Yeah. Okay, yeah, he's enjoying his sleep and enjoying my talk. That's okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we'll just get settled because this is a very interesting part. I don't want people to miss this. So that was completely hoax when we examined the real bones. They were stained, looking like an old ones, but they were all new and they have nothing to do with built-down man. The evolutionists are really shy when they speak about these things, and they don't speak about it at all. And they don't like us to bring it to light, but we will. Right, Nebraska man. That's a very interesting one. In 1922, they said this is the intermediate. That is really the intermediate. We found Nebraska man that's in America. What is the evidence? One single tooth. Can you imagine from one single tooth you can discover the intermediate between human and apes? Right, wait a minute. In 1927, they discovered this is an extinct species of pig. The tooth does not belong to human at all. It belongs to pig. So if you want to see the real Nebraska man, this is the real Nebraska man. I'd like you to think, if you are a Christian in 1922, and the evidence came Nebraska man and the intermediate, and we shouldn't believe the Bible. See, okay, I will not oppose the science of the day. I will just believe what they believe, because I want to be updated and want to be modern. Wait till 1927, 28, and then you discover this was wrong. We have to stick to the word of God, which is the word of truth. And the real evidence proves it. It is not the contrary, which what the world wants us to know. Box Grove man, they found a shin bone, and it's human, and they found 2 teeth, and they are human, and they found stone tools, and they are human, and it is completely human really, and there is no problem. This is not an intermediate at all. And they give it also this wonderful age, 300,000 to 400,000 years. As if we are talking about 100,000 years here and there, it's not a problem really. It is a problem. Right, this is a very interesting bit. They found these 7 pieces of bones. One of them is a piece of sacrum at the lower part of the pelvis. And they think it belongs to a female. So in an article called Behind the Scenes in the National Geographic in March 2000. So this is a respected paper and good scientists. Let us see what happened. They say it is hard to find someone who can draw a realistic looking early humanid. That's why the Geographic Art Department, the adverts coming from the art department, conducting a search for new talent. They want 4 artists to pick these 7 bones and to describe the 2-million-year-old female. They decided it's 2-million-year-old, okay, from these 7 bones. And they want to advertise in the art department. They want to get some good artists to build this human lady based on these fossils. That's all what they got. And these bits of evidence, they have to make a sketch and then write these humanoid bones. Let us see what happens. They will give 2 weeks to each artist, and each artist will do his own research from these 7 bones. Remember them, huh? And he will build, or she will build, a full human as an intermediate between the ape and man. And paleontologists, as the people who study the old fossils and things, reviewed the results and intrigued, just amazed about how talented these artists are. Let us see the 4 drawings. The first one shows the head, a smaller head, and the eyes very similar to an ape. The other one, a face of a lady, more human than the previous one. This is between ape and human. This more ape structure. Let us see that. Remember, all we have to go with is these 7 pieces of bone. Right? That's all that you got. Right, let us see what happens. So the first one, make the knees locking and make it standing upright based on the 7 bones, which cannot give you this information at all, right? And make the hands really longer, because I said the hands, if the hands and the lower limb are equal in the apes. And then the next one, make the hands even longer, so it's more ape and more female structure, and standing straight as well. There is no fossils of the feet at all. The 4th one, make it knuckle walking, yeah, and standing up straight, upright as well. The 4th one, put it on a tree and giving the impression. This is the art department from National Geographic asking to use these 7 pieces of evidence to build this person, to tell us this is the intermediate. And you want to believe that? It's impossible. Really impossible. Right. Let us see what happened with Lucy, because they found her daughter as well. So Lucy's baby, an extraordinary new fossil. What you see here in yellow is the real fossil. So they found most of the skull, they found the scapula, this is the bone at the back, and the clavicle, and the chest bones, and they didn't find the pelvis at all. They found part of the femur, and they found the knees, and they found the bones in the leg, part of the ankle, but not lots of toes. And all what they found in the upper limb is part here of the humerus. This is the bone that connects the arm up here, and that's all what they found. Okay? All what you see in white is just really imagination. Imagination. So, shoulder blades is gorilla, inner ear canal is African apes, long curved fingers is like ape, voice box is like chimpanzee, cranial capacity, that's the brain capacity, chimpanzee. So it is and they said this is new human fossil, it is completely ape. So really when you are faced with the documents, you have to examine the evidence rather than accepting what they are saying. So it's an Ape Man deception. How to make an Ape Man, right? Few human bones and imagination, you can make an Ape Man. Few ape bones plus imagination, you have an Ape Man. So yeah, either human fossils and imagination, or ape fossils, imagination. Or few bones from apes and few bones from human, and mix them and imagination make Ape Man. If all fails, just grind them as Lavoie did and make them intermediate. That's how you make an Ape Man. And in all your textbooks, it will come to talk about the common ancestors, and we are descendants of these common ancestors. By the way, if you are sitting an exam, write what is in the textbooks. The evolutionists think and write whatever they like. But to pass the exam and get the marks and achieve what you want to do. But otherwise you fail, exactly. But in your thinking, think critically and be able to think biblically, and then you will know the truth, and the truth will set us free. But in the exam, write what's in the, as I told you in my biology, I have to write we came from Mongoloids and Caucasians and all of that, and that's completely wrong, because the mapping of human genome proves that all of that is coming from one Adam and Eve. Right, so let us just summarize very quickly. Neanderthals are humans. Piltdown man is a hoax, it's completely wrong. Nebraska man is a pig. Australopithecus is an ape. Box Grove man is a man. Lucy baby is ape. There is no evidence that man evolved. No scientific evidence that man evolved. And biblically we are made on the image of God. Imagination plus artwork gives you all the answers. Imagine that. Right, what does the Bible say? We are made supernaturally. We are made uniquely on the image of God. That's why when we fallen in sin, the Lord Jesus Christ came. It's a very important issue. Unfortunately, some Christians said, okay, we can combine both. So there was something called humanoids, and then God put his image on these people and became human. That's theistic evolution. This Bible commentator is a wonderful godly man. A wonderful godly man. But he is trapped into the idea of accepting what the world is offering without examining it. And accepting it and putting it as basis of his quotation. I don't want really to dwell on that. He's a godly man, a wonderful man who passed away. But really he was confused about humanoids becoming human. Because they said, God did not create Adam from dust of the earth and breathed in him life. They said there were humanoids and God spoke to him and gave him conscience, and then he gave him amnesia so he will forget that he was an ape at some stage. It's when we compromise really, we will go nowhere. We will really make a mess of it. Right. Genesis 1:27, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground. You are dust, and for dust you go. And breathed into him with his nostril the breath of life, and became a living creature. So, the Bible speaks about God created man and divine breath and living creature, and that's who we are. And that is confirmed with different references. The theistic evolution, that they believe that God used evolution to create a man, they believe there were living creatures and then divine breath and created a man, and that's completely wrong. Right, I'll take you quickly to this. Yes, why do we have different shapes and different skin color and different facial expressions and all of that? All these differences, 0.2% in our genes. But we are, very 2 in 1,000, right? That makes all these differences. So God created Adam and Eve with the genetic pool that can differentiate into all of this. And the skin color, we have a cell which forms melanin, pigments called melanin. And we have different grades of this melanin. So nobody is white, white meaning dead. We are all colored with different concentration of the color, depending when we live, to get the protection for our skin. So we are all human, we are all the same family. But we have different grades of the melanin, that's all. And so there is no races, because we are one race in Christ. Right. We'll just pass this again, and I think I'm coming to an end, but I just want, I'd like to take you to these 2 slides, and then we'll have a discussion, because I believe that can bring lots of... If God is the authority, if Adam and Eve is your foreparents, then God sets the rules. But if Ape is the origin of our life, who can put the truth? We can do whatever we like. We can behave like apes and nothing wrong. Because ape is our ancestor. Right, I'll pass all that. I just want to show you one thing. If you bear with me for 2 seconds, because this is really interesting, if I can get it. Right, if you want to see your see your grandfather, right? This is called imaginary ancestor, imaginary common ancestor. So it is imaginary. There is no document. There is no fossils to prove it. It is imaginary, right? Back again, the slides I'd like you to show you these are. Oh yes, here we are. Okay, this is the genealogy of the Lord Jesus Christ from Mary and from Joseph. So it starts with Adam and Seth and all his descendants to become to Abraham, and from Abraham to David, and from the family of King David there are 2 branches. One will take us to the descendants of the family of Joseph, and the other will take us to the family of Mary. Imagine if Adam didn't exist. He's a metaphor. It is a symbolic person. So his descendants will be symbolic. So his 4 descendants will be symbolic. So what that makes Jesus? It's really serious. It is really serious. What you believe about your origins is essential for our Christian faith. Because if we're created in the image of God and we have fallen in sin, the Lord Jesus Christ came. The Word became flesh. He dwelt among us and He paid the penalty for our sin. That's why we have salvation. That we can trust Him. But if we came from apes and ancestors of apes, Jesus did not come from that line. So I just want to show you this is, obviously when you read in Matthew and in Luke, the descendants of Jesus, sometimes it's very difficult to read, I should admit. I can't pronounce the names properly and it's very difficult, but it's a very important legal document. But Jesus has to come from the descendants of Adam, He has to come from the tribe of Judah, He cannot arise from any other 11 tribes. He has to come from the family of David, He has to come from the Blessed Mary. So, this is essential. This is really essential and very serious. So, is the ape our ancestor, the imaginary common ancestor, or is it Adam who created in the image of God? Right, that's a very quick review really about this topic. There are more details, but at least we have a structure in our mind now. Now, it's your role to ask questions.